Hi and welcome to the Booklab. In this video we're going to take a closer look at Nate Silver's book, On the Edge, The Art of Risking Everything. This is the long-awaited follow-up book to his best-selling book, The Signal and the Noise, which I actually haven't read. And it turns out that the real shakers and movers in this world are actually gamblers at heart. Hi and welcome to the Book Lab. I'm Björn, and this is the place where we bring you the best book recommendations when it comes to philosophy, psychology, human nature, and human potential. And today we're looking at On the Edge, The Art of Risking Everything. Who's Nate Silver? His claim to fame is his work as a statistical analyst. He has been predicting American elections, maybe other elections too, I don't know, very accurately. Up until the recent election where he was not really correct. And that was actually when I read this book. This book is about risk-taking. In this book, Nate Silver covers a group of risk-takers that he calls the River. And these risk-takers now have so much money and so much influence that we can all benefit from knowing them just a little bit better. After all, they play a huge role and have a lot of influence on the future of society and how technology is shaped. But who are these people in the River? Quote, most of us don't have the traits commonly found in the River. High tolerance for risk, appreciation of uncertainty, affinity for numbers, paired with an instinctive distrust of conventional wisdom and a competitive drive so intense that it borders to irrational. For those in the River, complexity is baked in, and the work is how to navigate it. To contrast the people of the River, there's also another group we have to take into account that Nate Silver calls the Village. The Village refers to the liberal establishment encompassing academia, media and government sectors. This group is seen as more risk-averse, politically progressive and increasingly partisan, yet competent in winning elections. Silver's description of these two camps highlights the divide both culturally and ideologically in society. So, what does this book cover? Well, as a reader, you're invited to sit down at the table with the professional poker players. You meet the true crypto believers. We get to hang out with people that try to maximize slot machines. We meet with the sport bettors and we learn what makes or breaks a candidate at the ballot. We also get to learn about EA, effective altruism, where many unconventional thinkers are focused on combating the world's most pressing problems with the most effective solutions. So it's one hell of a ride, basically, and I just wanted to share some of my favorite takeaways and highlights to get a feel of what this book is about. One of my favorite takeaways from the book is that most people take too little risk, and that it pays off to be patient in an impatient world. The book also talks about two different risk personalities, foxes and hedgehogs, and you want to be a fox in today's day and age. The trait of the foxes are risk tolerance, think in EV terms, take calculated risk, probabilistic, willing to take bets based on incomplete information, multidisciplinary, and read widely. That is definitely a trait that fits most of the people watching this channel. These people are also adaptable, self-critical. They blame themselves if they make a mistake. They are complexity tolerant and empirical. And then on the other side, you have the hedgehogs. These people are risk ignorant. They overestimate or underestimate their own ability and take risky bets just because of that. Deterministic, they believe that outcomes are highly certain, often specialized in one narrow field, all in and prone to confirmation bias, stubborn, and blame mistakes on circumstances, order seeking. One thing is for sure, in this world we need to take risks, calculated risks, and we will never have complete information. Quote, once you have taken into account all the factors that you can account for, you must march boldly forward into the shadows of uncertainty. Bold action with incomplete information is often better than being paralyzed by indecision. And the book has a very interesting example of this. And in poker terms, you could say that sometimes it's better to raise or fold than to call. The example that I wanted to share was the example of the pandemic and the different strategies that different countries went for. Countries that took bold, coherent strategies fared the best. The example that he provides is New Zealand, who raised. They went all in on locking down. And Sweden, where I'm coming from, which went the totally opposite way and took a very risky strategy of very low restrictions and no lockdowns at all. And both these countries fared fairly well in comparison. and countries that had a more compromised approach to their strategy arguably fared the worst. The takeaway: we call too much, it's better to raise or fall and take some risk sometimes. Sometimes bold action is the best course of action, even if the outcomes are uncertain. The riskier course is often just to remain passive. And Nate Silver points this out. Most people take too little risk, especially when it comes to their personal finance and their career. But what if you're wrong when you do your bold move? What if you fall flat, right? If you're open-minded and ready to learn, then learning from your painful experience are often the best. And there's a great quote about that in the book. Quote, "There's nothing like pain to build up your pain tolerance." So who is this book for? Well, it depends. There is some gems here for people who want to make better bets and kill some of their faulty thinking around risk taking. But if you have zero interest in poker or sport betting dynamics, then there might be parts of this book that could be a real drag for you. That was the case for me, but I was much more enjoying the parts about venture capital and the crazy guys in the crypto space like Sam Bankman-Fried. A fascinating story. All in all, I think the thread in this book is a bit thin. It's not clear to me exactly what the message from the book was. I picked up things here and there, but it felt a little bit incoherent. If you're especially interested in risk taking, it's worth having a look, but I guess there might be better books on risk taking. It was a bit of a drag after all. And I actually have books like that on my to-read list, or I made a reading list for 2025. I'm going to present it here on the channel in a couple of days. I actually have a book on risk there as well. The book is called Against the Gods, and it's on risk taking. So I'm going to compare and contrast those books once I get to that book. I started actually The Road to Serfdom. So that would be one of the first books that I finished this year. I finished this one last year. I was just a little bit late on making the review because my kids have been so sick. So it's been kind of tumultuous times this January. But January is always like that with small children. I'll be back with more book reviews, more book lists, and the February breakdown of the best non-fiction releases is just around the corner. So there will be things coming to this channel every other day, every week or so. Also, I put out shorts now of some of the best books that I read. So if you haven't checked out that playlist, please do. Let me know what's your first book of the year in the comments. I would love to know what you guys are reading. I appreciate that. Also, mention where you're from. It's nice to know. There was a guy from Argentina commenting last week. There were people from Nigeria. So it's people from all around the world. And we have a common interest. We love to read books. So happy reading. See you next week. Björn out.